The views and opinions expressed here are those of the interviewees and do not reflect the views of Fermanagh and Omagh District Council. Any content provided by contributors is of their own opinion and is not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, club, organisation, company, individual, anyone or anything. These recollections are for entertainment purposes only and offer a historical window into Omagh's past.
I'm going back to Omagh to walk her streets again. I'll tip my hat to all the girls, shake hands with all my friends. I'll climb aboard the silver bird that flies across the foam. I'm on my way to Omagh in the county of Tyrone.
Hello again and a very good evening to you. If you've just joined us, you're listening to Sweet Omagh Town Internet Radio or a podcast.
Yes, and we are working in collaboration with the Fermanagh and Omagh District Council, celebrating the Omagh Music Festival, which runs from Thursday the 29th of September until the 2nd of October. And I believe tonight's podcast is a very, very special one.
Yes, this was recorded in this little studio some weeks ago. The interviewer was Gerarda McCann, who we all know very well, and the discussion is the Omagh Music Society with Margaret Mitchell and Heather Patterson.
So, take it away, Gerarda.
Hello, and my name is Gerarda McCann, and I'm delighted to be here with Margaret Mitchell and Heather Patterson. You're very welcome, ladies.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I suppose what this celebration is all about is music that has been particularly in Omagh for the last 50, 60 years. And there is great movement towards celebrating the Plattermen, who of course had their album Old Devil Wine, which is 50 years old, and there's a whole lot of activities happening around that. But there was loads of things happening. Tyrone and Omagh have always been a very musical centre. And of course, the Omagh Music Society, which is still going, was born as such 50 years ago also. So you two ladies were part of the founder members. Mm-hmm. My lovely mum was a founder member, yes, also. Mm-hmm. And Heather, I remember you saying that you specifically recall Reggie Slane, who was, yes, your first conductor, mm-hmm, calling a meeting in the Royal Arms Hotel, wasn't, yes, it? So yes. Would you like to tell us just a little bit about that?
Well, Reggie was our organist and choir master in St. Columba's Church, and he said he had plans to start an oratorio choir. So he put an ad in the local papers, and we had to have a meeting in the Royal Arms Hotel on a specific night, and over 50 people turned up.
Brilliant.
It was amazing. And they were from all sides of the community, mm-hmm, which was wonderful for all of us.
Before even that term cross-community had probably been even thought of.
Exactly. And there were so many there, he says to me, we'll have to start this choir.
There's no going back.
So we started rehearsing from September that year. But it was actually, the choir would have been born in June 1972.
Okay.
But we started rehearsing at September.
Right. And I mean, times were horrendous then.
Oh, absolutely. It was awful. There was some terrible things happening, all around us.
And I mean, the Royal Arms doesn't exist anymore.
Yes.
Well, so many places don't exist anymore. But there was obviously a real hunger for good quality music and people coming together.
Exactly. And funny, all the people that came forward to join that first choir, mm-hmm, were all fairly competent musical people.
Lovely.
Mm-hmm, which was really good too.
Well, that explains why the repertoire that you all performed, yes, was so good. I was going through some of the stuff that my mum had, and there's Dvorak and Mendelssohn and Haydn and Handel, and there was that hunger for
Yes.
it.
Yes.
And Margaret, of course, you were then one of the soloists also in the choir.
I was very glad to know this was happening, because I had been in Belfast before this, and it belonged to the Philharmonic Choir,
Brilliant.
and had sung in musicals in Belfast. And I came home to Omagh to be a telephonist for my dear husband. I thought, this is the end of me in music. And then when this started up, it was wonderful.
Yes.
And I thought, here we are back into music again. And the first thing we did was Messiah.
Brilliant.
And the first time I sang Messiah was with the Philharmonic Choir in Belfast. So this was something I thought, you know what, I kind of know this.
I was just with the Messiah, because, as you say, that was the first
That we did.
the first
Yes.
performance that Omagh Music Society did. Do you know that you performed Messiah, if I'm correct in looking through Mum's notes, in 1972, 73, 75 and 79?
Yes.
Very popular.
And later years than
And-
that. Even.
yeah.
Lots
And
of times.
and even still, it's one of the most, I would say, one of the most popular oratorios
It
That's
is.
that were ever
It is.
that were
Even
ever
John Murdoch's
performed.
last concert,
But-
we had Messiah, and of course I think he nearly performed the entire Messiah.
Aw. Well, I think if you're in the audience, and as a member of the audience, it's very difficult to sit quietly,
Yes.
because you want to
Sing with
join
it.
in. Heather, you were saying, because of the horrendous times that were happening, and it was so brilliant that so many people from different parts of the community were coming together to sing. What sort of impact then do you think that made on the wider community and pulling in an audience?
Well, we did attract an audience from right across whatever church we were in,
Yeah.
and we sang in each other's churches all of the time. There was nobody saying, I don't want to go there, or I
Yeah.
don't want to go there. Everybody was willing to go wherever we went, and it was just great. And I think it did have a good impact. Wouldn't you say, Margaret, on the community in Omagh?
It was, because people weren't afraid. Because at one stage, people were afraid to go into one church or the other.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's certainly where the music was concerned. But of course, we all know that music transcends everything, doesn't
Yes,
it?
it does.
Yeah.
And it certainly did for us. And I think it was a good thing for the community at that particular time.
Oh,
Yeah.
it was excellent. Certainly was. It was
I know
great.
it was very, very important to Mum.
Yeah.
Very important.
Yeah.
I noticed on some of the programmes that were sold for anything from 5p to 20p for a programme.
Yes.
I mean, now you could be asked £10 for a programme if you go to something. Very often they don't put the year on, it's just the date. I have so many things where it's just the date but not the year.
Well, the first performances we did, we sold a programme prescription. Do you remember that, Margaret?
That's right.
And the first Messiah was 50p. And that was for your ticket in, and that was your ticket in, and it was also the programme.
So it was 20p entrance.
50p.
50p
50p
entrance.
then, yes.
My goodness.
Isn't that
That
value?
is some value.
And-
I have one of Mum's here, and it's from 1974,
That's right.
and Saul by Handel in First Omagh Presbyterian Church, and programme 5p.
I wasn't worth any more than that. I was one of the soloists.
Yes, you were. There was June Brown,
Oh, yes.
Margaret Campbell Mitchell,
Yes.
Brian Hunter, Liam Hickey, Jack Smith,
yeah.
and Hilda Robinson. Hilda Robinson.
Yes, she played the organ in the church in Dungannon. Do you remember?
Oh, very good.
Will and Hilda. Will
Yes.
used to come and sing.
Oh,
When he
yes.
When she played,
played.
he sang in our choir because he was in. They were both in the Dungannon Choral Society. We both played for them.
I'm
There's
going.
another. This was the performance in 1973 in the Sacred Heart Church.
And then there's
that
obviously-
was this big one here,
And
and that was 50p. And look at that comprehensive programme.
yeah, comprehensive programme, and obviously sponsored
We had
by local businesses as well.
Yeah, the businesses were
Ads,
very
with
keen.
ads, and that one where we didn't have in the first one.
Yeah, and businesses that are still existing today
Yeah.
and who are still very supportive
Yes.
of things around the
Yes.
town.
Yes.
We will be taking photographs, which obviously when people are listening to us having our chat, they'll be able to see photographs. But I'm sure your musical scores are no different from what Mum's were. Like if I open up Saul, Mummy's got AGM, Tuesday, the 21st,
Mine's like that.
Royal Arms, 8 p.m.
Yes.
And then Messiah in Strabane after Christmas. And just all the wee notes. I loved it when I was studying music. I just loved having all those things, that you could just look at as well, and
But
great wee
the,
memories.
If you saw my copy of Messiah, the number of times I've recorded where we did it, performed it here and everywhere.
And did you write the years on it?
Yes, I did.
Mum didn't. Mum wrote the day and the date, but not the year, which I suppose was never important because we never thought we'd be talking about it now.
Well, my old Messiah copy was one that the organist in First Omagh gave me when I went off to Belfast, and it was hard-backed.
And do you still
And
use that?
I still have that. And it's nearly in ribbons, been used so many times.
Yeah.
But I was so proud of the fact when I went to the Philharmonic that I actually had my own copy.
Yeah.
I didn't have to have it bought.
Yeah, no, that's
It was
lovely.
there.
And do you remember the paper that some of the
Wallpaper.
scores were covered in?
Oh, yeah.
There was like it was wallpaper, and
You
there,
cut it all up.
did you cut that on?
Yes.
And there was
Because-
like a red,
Yes.
a
there
red
was.
bubbled one
And
nearly.
there was yellow one time and
Yeah.
green one and all.
I never understood why that was done. Was it because we all had different copies?
Yes, exactly.
Is that why?
So
Yeah.
they talked about getting folders and they were going to be too expensive.
I'm sure that was
I
Nora
says,
Tawney's.
why not get plain
I'm
wallpaper?
quite sure it was Nora. It
was me.
Oh, you were
Was
I
me,
thought you were the
yeah.
fussy. Oh, you were the fussy one.
No, I thought, well, if they're all in the same... And they looked fine when they were all done.
But it looks very uniform. And do you remember you had the capes as well?
Yes,
You wore the
yes.
capes.
Yeah.
Was that the first sort of uniform
Yes,
that the
it
Music
was.
Society
Well, it
had?
was over our black. It was just to make us...
Yeah.
But yet, funny, somebody said to me, you look like Rosa Cardinals.
Oh,
Well, I think that they really made us very important, and everybody who said, "Oh, that's the society who wears
Yes.
all the members wear these
I
lovely
still have
capes."
mine.
I do too.
oh.
And then when people left, when we perhaps had new members, they had to maybe go and borrow some from people who'd
Yeah.
been past members, and then we got those green dresses for lighter things. And
They were all
oh,
crimpling.
they were crimpling. They were awful things. Yeah, they were terrible. But we had them and we used them on a few occasions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was off the time.
Yes,
Yes,
it
that's
was.
true.
It was.
Another programme I have here is the Requiem by Dvorak, and that was collaborating with Fermanagh Choral Society and the Western Youth Orchestra as
That
well.
was done quite often. Yes.
But what a brilliant opportunity for a youth choir to be able to
be able to
play
do
and
that.
accompany, a large choir with a conductor who is making sure that everything is right.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was good. And then when we had David Astor as our conductor,
Yep.
that worked very well because David had command of the
Music
of the
service.
music service. And that was really good.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So you'd started off with Reggie Slane as the conductor, and then other conductors, David Astor
Yes.
and Andrew Batchelor
Yes.
and Dan Smith.
Yes.
Of
For
course,
Riverside.
Reverend John Murdoch.
He was with us for a number of years now, John Murdoch, wasn't
Oh,
he?
many years.
Yes, yeah, and he was very popular with all the
Yes.
choir.
He was
Yes.
very entertaining at the practices, wasn't he? He was very entertaining.
He was very entertaining at the tea afterwards.
Yes,
Always,
yes,
because of course, if in the choir you had so much more to do with him. But I remember if Dad and I went in for the cup of tea and tray bakes or whatever, he was entertaining to watch and listen to, even if you were listening to a conversation that you shouldn't have been listening to. But have you stories to tell?
Well, he was very keen about rattling his keys. He had this bunch of keys, and when he was conducting,
Yeah.
we were very conscious of these keys. He carried these round his waist somewhere. I don't know, with the keys of the kingdom somewhere.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Then of course David Robertson, who is with Fermanagh Choral
Yes.
Society at the moment,
Yes.
and the lovely Rachel Bingham.
Yes.
Also,
yes.
and Stanley Matthews. I mean, that's a huge number of conductors. But when you think the choir's been going for 50 years,
Yes, indeed.
you know, it is absolutely brilliant.
And we're still standing, aren't we, John?
The Reverend
Heather?
Murdoch was there the longest time of
I
any
think he
of them.
was.
And yet he always regarded himself as just being temporary. On the programme he would have had conductor, Reverend John Murdoch, and in brackets pro tem. And
Oh,
that was printed on many of the programmes.
so he wasn't taking complete ownership of it. And it was all oratorio, wasn't it? That you were doing at that stage.
More
Well,
or
you see,
less.
we were known at the beginning as the Oratorio Society, and then it was changed to Omagh Music Society
Okay.
because we were doing other things as well, bits and pieces out of something. And then, of course, when we had one musical when we did Mikado
Yes,
in
yes.
1980,
Yeah.
and that's why.
And we've some memorabilia of
Yes,
that
from
as
the
well.
start.
Yeah. Oh, was it?
We're always Omagh Music Society.
Well,
right
I
from the
stand
start.
corrected.
Of
I
course.
thought it was
But-
Oratorio
but
Society.
Yes, but Reggie always said we're an oratorio choir. He didn't want to go down any other route.
Right.
Yeah.
But things then changed, and people
Well, you have to
power.
people power, but also you need to get bums on seats, basically.
Exactly.
You know, because you have
Exactly.
soloists maybe being flown in or travelling
Yes.
from goodness knows where. Expenses have to be paid. I know that because of the nature of the choir, and a lot of choirs still do it, you provide the nibbles and the sandwiches and that sort of thing, and help cater for the tea. But that still all takes money.
Does, yes.
So I suppose there's a real element where you have to move with the times.
Yes.
I love oratorio, and I can totally understand that there would be members who would just want to totally stick with that. But, and I'm not mad for change, I have to say, that, as a personality, I'm not mad for change. But then you have to. It's either that or get left behind.
Yes. Yes.
But you did then move from the oratorio to the Mikado.
Yes.
And was that on stage, or was that an oratorio type performance?
Oh, no, that was on stage.
Fantastic.
It
That was
was.
a big production, and a lot of
Um,
costumes had to be hired. And
Yeah.
And Margaret, you were one of
I was Yum Yum.
the little maids.
I was indeed.
Yourself and Anne Brannigan and Agnes O'Neill.
And Agnes, she was.
People-
She had great experience, and in fact, then she came. I moved in the next year, because someone came to hear me in came to hear Mikado,
Yes.
and they were going to do Mikado in Letterkenny, and they had already chosen their Yum Yum,
Okay.
and their Yum Yum happened to be my bridesmaid.
My goodness.
And then Richard Scott, he went as their Mikado. And then after that, I was with Letterkenny for the next number of years and did loads of
Yeah.
Gilbert and Sullivan, and it was very good. But of course, there was times that it was not easy, because remember, I had to be in at night to take phone calls,
Yep.
and had to have a mother, and my own mother, look after telephone. And we headed off to Letterkenny, which was no easy thing, in the middle of troubles and stuff.
Yeah.
I know.
And stuff. I'm talking about stuff.
I know, but it is. But you know,
It was
family
not
and
easy.
reality of the
Really,
time.
it's amazing the way we got through all that time.
We did.
Really.
But Mikado was a great success. I mean, everybody really enjoyed it and thought, that's terrific. And the society then, we thought next thing we would do was gondoliers.
Okay.
But that never happened.
Ah.
I think
It
Reggie
was
moved
cast
away.
And all you
Yeah,
and I were to be
we
Ted,
were.
Tessa and Jeanette.
And Janetta. And
They
then
could be your
Reggie
code
got ill.
names.
Reggie got ill. Yes, and then he
Oh,
moved
okay.
I
away.
thought he had a heart attack.
Yes,
And then
yeah.
it was shelved, and then the next thing, we were celebrating our 25th anniversary.
That's
Mm-hmm.
right.
And
But isn't it interesting the way that one thing moves on to another?
Yeah.
It gives rise to something else.
Yeah. I know, and of course, Father Cargan was in that
Yes.
as well.
he
Lovely.
was
He was
fantastic.
Pooh Bah.
He was.
He was.
Oh.
Yeah.
He was
And he
he
ju-
was so funny.
he-
I must
So
give you that
funny.
programme so that you can photograph that.
Yeah, that would be
Yeah.
great. I'm just looking to see who else was in it. Philip Smith,
Yes.
and
He went to
of course
Letterkenny
Richard
too.
Scott was Mikado, the Mikado, and Katisha. I can't read that.
Kadisha was Carolyn Fullerton.
Fullerton. That's exactly what that is.
I played that when I got older with Letterkenny. I was Yum Yum for a couple of times, and then as I got older, then I got
Katisha.
to play part of Kadisha then after that.
Oh. A shame that you didn't get to do more of them, but at the same
Well,
time.
it is. But it was part of our history.
Exactly.
And that's,
And Margaret, as you were saying, you know, with the troubles that there were, nobody can get away from that, and stuff. You just dealt with stuff, be it family stuff,
did.
work trials, whatever was happening on the roads, or behind doors.
Exactly.
You just got on with it. And there was no social media, which is a blessing and a curse probably in many ways
Well,
now.
I think it probably was a good thing.
Oh yeah,
I
definitely.
remember at one stage we went to Derry to sing Messiah. I think it was in Father Kevin's church up in Galliot.
Yeah.
John's or Joseph's and Joseph's, I think Galliot, which is right in the middle of the bogside. So we all went up there in cars and performed. It was a beautiful church now.
Yeah.
I have to say, a bit like Christ the King in its architecture and
More modern.
modern church. Yes,
Yeah.
very, very good.
Well, in terms of, as the choir, celebrated 25 years, and the characters like Miss Nora Torney,
Oh,
who I loved watching performing whenever I was in the audience with Dad, because she was so animated and so precise, and whenever the faces would be held as well. I mean, she absolutely terrified me. But then as I got older and began to speak to her, she was a sweetheart, as long as you didn't get on the wrong side of her.
Yes,
She could be
exactly.
really, really cross.
yeah.
She ruled the Music Society, really, didn't she? You know, without, she was the secretary for a long time, but she had a way with her that she got around everybody, didn't she?
Yeah,
She
her
did,
standards were high.
Oh, they
Everything
were.
had to be just
Yes,
right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think if she said Gerda jump, I would say hi, Miss Torney.
Yes. Oh, yes. No, we all had a great
Yes.
affection for Nora, I have to say.
Yes, yes.
And then as treasurer also, if as I say, paying for the soloists coming over, paying for whatever needed to be organised. But then any monies that were left over, you always gave on to charity. Was always handed on.
Well, there wasn't all that. I was the first treasurer for 7 or 8 years, and then Margaret
I
followed
do.
me as treasurer.
Do you know, it's the busy people get the busy jobs to do.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, they say if you want something done, ask a busy person to do it.
But it was a difficult thing, when you were treasurer, Heather, and you'll agree
There was
with me
a lot
on
of
this.
money.
There was a lot of
involved.
money, especially bringing the artists, and when we had to bring them over and had to pay for their flights. And you looked down the audience and you thought, is it possible for me to pay for this?
Yeah.
That's when it was difficult now, I have to say.
I remember at one stage having to go and ask the bank manager for a loan
Yeah.
Oh
to
my
pay
goodness.
solos.
Yes.
There
No, it
wasn't the money.
And where would they stay whenever they came over? Would somebody put them up, or would they go to the
You
hotel?
should say that there was this performance here, Mendelssohn's Elijah. There were 2 of the soloists for that came from England, a soprano called Vida Skeppens and a tenor called Ian Kennedy. Now Vida was still a student at the Northern College of Music in Manchester. And she stayed with me. But yes, and then Ian, I saw his name on later programmes. He was over again. But Ian stayed with Reggie and Ansley and out in their house. But Vida went on to become the principal soprano in Scottish opera.
Wow.
So she was really a beautiful singer. Really,
Gorgeous.
really good.
And when there was someone coming from across the water to take part in the oratorio concerts, did you sort of feel as though you had to be on your best behaviour in your house when you had people there, or did they just sort of meld into the
No, she was a
company?
very nice girl, and she was only 19, or she was a student, And I had a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old at the time, and I remember one afternoon taking her up to Gorton Glens to have a look around. And I still have photographs of these 2 small children of mine and Vida, and sitting outside in the back garden because the weather was reasonably good at the time. But the only thing was, a bomb had just gone off in the main street in Omagh about a week before they came. But I remember taking her down the town and the wreckage, and the place was a total mess. And she says, "Oh, I do feel sorry for you. This is awful, but
Yeah, just got on with it.
yeah, get on.
Everybody
with it."
just got on with it.
Yes.
I loved whenever the female soloists would come walking out, and you would see the dresses and the sparkles. That I just loved that. Where did you get your dresses from, Margaret, when you were soloing? with Letterkenny and...
Well, I still have. I went through them all the other day. There,
Really?
I have a wardrobe full of them, and my children said, "Will you please give those away to the whatever?" I said, "No, these are my history.
Yeah.
You see." I think
Do you
the
have a
first one's
favourite?
black one. I have actually. It's a pink one with this colour, with one arm in and one arm out.
Oh yes,
And I remember seeing that when I remember particularly seeing that now when I was in Derry and in Belfast when when I belonged to Derry Operatic, we did the festival. Then we sang in Derry, and when we sang in Belfast in the Ulster Hall.
Lovely.
And I had this pink dress that I had. It was the dress that I wore when Haldane was president of Rotary. I had it specially made, you know.
Oh,
And that-
lovely.
even then, people made a big effort.
Mm-hmm.
And now they just go and buy something off the rail, and that's it.
I know.
But this was very special. And I brought that down the other day. Mum, how did you ever wear that?
Well, there's
But
not
they
much
were
to you, but it was
dresses.
a tiny...
It was quite small.
Oh,
really.
my
But
goodness.
they were lovely dresses, and I don't know, I have rows of them. You can borrow one now if you like.
I doubt if I would fit into any of them. But
They were very special, and the black dresses that we wore with the Music Society now, they were very special. We all wore long black dresses,
yeah.
and I think that was better. I mean, nowadays people don't seem to worry about the lengths and I think if you sing as a choir, I think you should be uniform.
Yeah. I mean, it always did look extremely elegant.
Yes.
And sometimes, depending on where the performance was, the choir would be walking in the aisle and
Yes.
walking out of the aisle.
Yes.
And there was definitely an occasion. It was, you knew that you were at an occasion, you were at
Yes.
a performance.
Yeah, because there was a lovely presence there, wasn't there?
Yeah. There's when Margaret, when you're saying about the length of the dresses and that Codetta, which is a fabulous choir in Derry that Donald Doherty takes, and they have full length skirts.
Yes.
I think they're maybe a lovely green, but it's just you look at it and you think, yeah, this is going to be special because you know they've made effort at how they're looking.
That's right.
Therefore, the music, is going to be so important.
in Strabane lately, and the dresses were like a lovely midnight blue.
Lovely.
Yes.
And that was with Jerry Bradley's
Yes.
Oh, his chamber choir.
His chamber choir,
Yes.
and they were there a couple of months ago, and I thought, really, I'd love our girls just to see how elegant it is. I mean,
Yeah.
they begin the performance.
Yes.
That is the beginning of the performance, isn't it?
Oh, the minute that you see
Yes.
them, the minute you set your foot on stage
Yeah,
and
that's
the
it.
audience are looking at you, not are they judging? I don't know if an audience is judging, but there's an expectation.
Yeah, well, it sets the scene that way. And I think that's important.
Yes, exactly. But it's very difficult when you have a large choir like the size that this was then to get the same dresses for everybody. It had to be. That's
Yes.
why
The little capes.
we just had black and then we had the capes.
Yeah, I thought the capes were a great idea. Don't men have it easy?
Exactly.
A white shirt, a black jacket, a dicky bow or a tie.
But now, Gerard, it's black shirts
Well, they-
and no tie.
That's true.
The men then wore dress suits.
Yes, but as you say,
Tweed,
nowadays
yeah.
it's the black shirts
Tucker.
and no tie.
But long sleeves, please.
Tuxedos.
Don't like short sleeves.
No.
Fair long sleeves.
Standards really could do with a little bit of a raise.
Yes.
Maybe we're getting older, Heather.
I know, but I think you're right, Margaret.
Yes.
You are right. Yeah,
I suppose it is very much at the minute, it's a throwaway society.
exactly.
Because you can buy clothes and you can buy accessories so cheaply
Yeah.
and not, you would have looked after your dresses, looked after your capes, whereas it's that you can barely compare the times between what was there and where we are now.
Well, now with the financial situation at the moment, you never know. Things might change.
Yeah. Well, things are definitely getting more difficult. I was speaking to someone actually who's very involved in the music scene for, I'd say, since he was born. But he was even saying that, some of his family, because of the war in Ukraine and everyone having to tighten their belts, that a lot of people are going back to growing their own produce.
Yes.
You know,
yes, yes.
and dabbling in it and relishing the fact that they're able to provide that dinner
Yes.
that they made themselves. You know,
true.
in terms of vegetables and fruit and that sort of thing. Maybe not going out and chasing the chicken round the round the yard. I wouldn't do that. Now, what about now? You are both still in the choir, which is brilliant. Are there any other original members still in the choir?
No, I don't think so.
No.
No,
No,
none
there aren't.
at all. No.
So just the two of you,
What is
A lot of them are no longer with us.
very sadly.
You know.
Yeah.
last two standing, Heather?
That, you know, in that photograph, there's more than, I would say, 60-70% of them are not around anymore.
Yeah. It is. It's very sad.
Well, we have to remember, we were only young things then, Heather.
Yes.
But I think you are still very much young in your minds also. How do you think you can retain members? And not even just the Music Society, but any organisation. Because, again, the world that we live in at the moment, everything is immediate. Nobody has to wait. And with a lot of the shows, it's you go on to, you know, the talent shows and that, you go on and you sing or you do whatever, and then you think, right, I'm going to, and you're instantly a star, but you're maybe instantly a star for
5 minutes.
5 minutes, you know, a month, flavour of the month, and then whack, somebody wants to come and just take the legs out from under you.
I know.
How, is it repertoire?
It's very difficult, Gerarda, to be honest, for us to try and keep members that come and they go. And I mean, that choir, as you know, back in the day, was a very big choir. And I think I counted over 70 in that photograph.
My goodness.
Of members of the Music Society.
Yeah.
Now we've just over 30.
It's the kind of music that people are growing up with now. I mean, even in the schools, they're not doing the same thing as we would have done in the school. And they do a lot of this popular stuff in school now too, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. You know. I know when I was at Loretto, and I was probably first or second year, and you know, there was maybe prize giving or something. I didn't win anything, I have to say. I was rarely a winner at the prize giving, but I would sing.
You were waiting, you were in the wings.
I was waiting to sing. I was waiting to sing. I
Sing,
definitely
yes,
wasn't waiting to get the prize for English or maths or anything. But what the song I sang, Santa Lucia, you know, and I remember it so clearly.
Yeah.
But now, the kids wouldn't dream of looking anywhere near it, you know, and I mean, of course, I'm talking 40 years ago plus as well. But I don't know. I think people, it's having the staying power. I think there's an awful lot of things that if it just doesn't tick all the boxes you want in terms of a society or an organisation, it's easy to head on and there'll be another one there.
Yeah. Exactly. But I think the pandemic has done a lot of harm to societies and clubs and all sorts of things. People weren't tending them and they just haven't come back, a lot of them.
Well, I think you're right, Heather, because as you say, it's in everything. I mean, not just music societies, in other clubs that we all belong to, that we all want to keep our members and increase our members, and there's no one coming in.
Yeah, there's still a definite fear with the COVID, with the coronavirus and the COVID. Yeah. I know I was at a service this morning, and there were a lot of people there, but there are so many people now that watch services online.
That's right.
Because they're afraid.
I was going to say that the churches haven't come back to their full strength yet either.
No.
People, I know people even in my own church, and they're not there physically. They watch it online. It's just. One lady said to me, "I'm quite happy sitting at home now with a cup of coffee and watching."
Yeah.
Well, that's right, Heather. I think things are made easy for people now, and yet I still think where the churches are concerned, you really need to have a bit of communication with the other people, you know, and especially people like myself now who live on my own. I think that's
Communication and community.
yes. Is
Because if people who would have normally gone to services and churches and chapels, if they're not going there anymore, then that community
yeah.
begins to dwindle.
Yes.
Yeah.
But, well, please God they won't. So, in terms of all the oratorio that you've done, have a wee think, what would be your favourite oratorio if you had to choose one?
Well, I think for me it would be Creation.
Well, it's quite sacred.
Really?
Because it's so bright and lively.
Yes.
But I listened to Verdi's Requiem the other night, and I thought that was just beautiful music.
That's another big
And
one.
there's a very big work that we did. It was probably the biggest work that we performed, and it was really quite something. And there's absolutely no way at the moment that would be we would be
Another
capable
pretty
of
big
that.
one was Elijah.
Yes,
It's a
Elijah's
big work
another.
too.
Yeah.
The double choruses,
Yeah.
the bail choruses.
Fabulous memories.
Oh yes,
Uh-huh, absolutely. And I mean,
it was a very big undertaking, you know,
since
for a country
I
choir.
joined Omagh Music Society, I mean, I did works that I didn't even know existed.
Yeah.
Things like Carmina Burana, which is
Yeah.
fabulous
Yeah.
music. And that was David Assiter introduced us to that.
And again, that was the great opportunity we had because we had the orchestra
Yeah.
as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you see that there's no coming together like that anymore.
No.
That's gone.
Well, hopefully the orchestras, the youth orchestras
Yeah.
will get back together. But
Yes.
again, that's COVID. You know, everything
Exactly.
with schools and the Education Authority, the Music Service, all of that. And there's still so many people still working from home,
Yes, that's
also
right.
in a lot of the
That's right.
organisations.
Uh-huh.
So we're loving Elijah and loving Creation.
Yes.
And in terms of the 50th anniversary, what would you love to be able to happen to mark that?
Well, where I'm concerned, I mean, I know that this can't happen because the people we have now in the choir haven't performed all these lovely pieces that we did, all these lovely works that we did. I would love to have had a great selection of all these
Yes.
oratorios that we've done in the past.
Maybe
That would be
snippets
my idea.
from all of them.
Yes,
You know,
Yeah.
some of those that have familiar choruses in them
Yes.
would have
Yes.
been ideal, I think. But that's maybe pie in the sky.
Yeah.
If we could get the right people back again, or
Yeah.
attract new people in.
Yeah.
Well, maybe with the interest of people celebrating the show bands and traditional music and the music society, all the music that was happening around Omagh from 50 years ago, there could maybe be just a wee resurgence of, oh, sure, I'll go back for this
For one.
50th performance, and maybe there still could be snippets or even audience participation
Yes.
coming in. You don't want to lose the ethos of Omagh Music Society either.
No. No, it would be all very easy to say a lot of new stuff. There's that new modern stuff, put that in, but it has nothing to do with the actual history of the choir.
Yes.
No.
Well, that definitely needs to be acknowledged and recognised. And I suppose there are then new composers coming in all the time, like
Yes.
Chilcott. That's exactly
Yeah.
who I was trying to think of.
Yes.
But then again, you're not going to please everybody all of the time.
You certainly are.
And you're not going to please every member of the choir all the time
Definitely
either,
not.
because they're going to like some stuff and not like some others.
But you
like
see-
ourselves.
But then again, that is being part of a group,
That's right.
And 50 years ago, you were part of a group, and you just went with it. Now, I see it in the schools sometimes. Oh, I don't like that, and even young children, if I'm doing a wee song and they might say, oh, I don't really like that song, I don't really like singing, I say that's okay, because you don't have to like it. We're going to do it, but you don't have to like it, because we have to take part. But well, I'm going to keep an eye definitely on what's going to happen for the Omagh Music Society 50th anniversary, and I sincerely hope that something happens. And I'm so grateful to you both for coming in and talking about Omagh Music Society. We're going to take photographs of some of the memorabilia as well, and aren't memories wonderful? And of course, Margaret Haldane has pictures and lots of his books as well of Omagh Music Society. And Heather, you have a lot as well. We'll be taking lots of photographs.
Well,
But I have to say, isn't it wonderful that Heather and I still have got heads to remember?
Fantastic, fantastic.
but we go back a long way, Margaret.
We
don't
do.
we? 50 years, and we're still friends.
Isn't that great? Well, you were obviously what? You must have been only 7 or 8 when you met then.
We were the youngest members ever to join.
We were indeed.
Oh, that's fantastic.
gosh. But you know, in those days, you know, at the beginning we had some of the schoolgirls, remember?
Yes, we
had,
did.
which was
Yeah.
lovely.
In that photograph, there's
a
some
couple of
there, there's
schoolgirls,
some
and
there.
now you wouldn't have the schoolgirls in because they're too
Well,
busy.
and-
And of course, they're doing a lot of music in school.
Yes, yes. There's a lot of
Mary
music coming
Megan
back.
yeah.
was the music teacher in St Bridget's then, wasn't she?
And she brought.
She brought a lot of. These were her pupils, a lot.
Yeah, that came in, and I know that Mum brought Doria, one of my
Yes, she
sisters, in
did.
as well.
And then we had June Brown's daughter here, and Dillis Riley's daughter.
I brought my mother-in-law.
She was there before you.
She was there actually at the at that. She went to the meeting,
Yes, she did.
and that's why I couldn't probably go to the meeting because I had to be
Yeah,
at home.
someone had to look after the phone and
Yeah.
children and all the rest.
Mother-in-law came first.
Your words, Margaret. maybe not everyone's. Thank you so much for being part
you're
of this
very welcome,
celebration of
Gerda.
music for the last 50 years. And I would say you have probably reignited lots of memories for people who maybe were part of the choir, or someone in their family member were part of the choir. I know with me, most definitely. Even the tickets, Margaret, that you have, I remember seeing those about my house. They'd be sitting up on the mantelpiece because did you all have to try and sell some?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
there's
yes.
10.
We
Sell those.
Maybe have about 10 each
Yeah.
given out. And some sold a lot and some sold a few, but
Yeah.
it wasn't easy for everybody.
There was a child of our time that was lovely to do.
Yes, that was lovely.
That was one of my favourites, I have to
Yes,
say.
okay.
Uh-huh.
Child with all the lovely Negro spirituals in it.
Yes. What year was that?
1985.
Yes.
Wow, which really doesn't sound that long ago.
Gorjak's Requiem at
Who did we
89.
do that with?
Fermanagh Choral Society and the Western
No,
Youth
but
Orchestra.
who was our conductor for A Child of Our Time? David
think-
Rossiter? No.
No, I think it was Reggie. I still
No,
think it was Reggie.
he wasn't there then.
85.
No, he wasn't. Reggie
Reggie's
left
relation.
about 82 or 83, 82.
Oh, Reggie stayed for 10 years.
Uh-huh.
Lovely.
And then, of course, we had all our dinner dances, remember?
I do.
Look at all those.
Do you remember the dinner dance photographs where the ladies were sitting on the chair and the boys were standing behind?
Oh, yes, I
Always.
have photographs of those, yes. I have a whole lot of photographs of those.
There's definitely stories could come out about that, but we'll not go there. So, Margaret and Heather, thank you so much for coming along and helping us remember Omagh Music Society for the last 50 years. We shall keep our eyes and ears open to see what celebration is going to happen, but please God, it'll be marked in some form.
Yes.
And we will also have the photographs of all your memorabilia. So thank you so much and continued singing.
Thank you very much. You're welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, indeed.
You're welcome.
As many's a gay night from dark till daylight I spend with people of high renown. But in all their grandeur and heaps to squander, my heart would wander for sweet Omagh town.